This is the best text-to-speech generator you can use right now.
You can easily clone anyone's voice.
It's so good at handling emotions.
It can even do accents and different languages.
You can even prompt the exact voice you want.
It works with low VRAM and is super fast.
We have a new free and open source text-to-speech generator, which is state-of-the-art. So Alibaba just released Qwen3 text-to-speech, and this is super powerful and flexible. You can clone anyone with just a few seconds of their voice, or you can enter a prompt describing exactly what voice you want, and it can generate a completely new voice. It's multilingual, it can handle a ton of different languages, and it's really good at actually capturing the emotions and intent of your transcript. Instead of just me talking, here are some examples. So here's an example where we can enter a prompt describing exactly how we want the voice to sound like. For example, there's going to be an initial laugh, it's going to be rapid during the laugh and then slowing to a deliberate pace. There's going to be a loud laugh transitioning to a standard conversational level, etc., etc. And then here is the transcript.
Good one. Okay, fine. I'm just going to leave this sock monkey here. Goodbye.
It can definitely do more expressive stuff like laughter, as you can hear. Or next, you can also specify the age. So here we have a sarcastic, assertive teenage girl with crisp enunciation, controlled volume, etc., etc. And then here's the transcript.
Blah, blah, blah. We're all very fascinated, Whitey, but we'd like to get paid.
Pretty good. Or here's another example. Here we have a middle-aged adult, authoritative, confident, and performative. And here's the transcript.
Older gentleman, 110, maybe 111 years old. Sort of a surly Elvis thing happening with him. He smiles like this. Seen him around?
The awesome thing is you can even control the pace and the tone of everything throughout the transcript. So for example, here we have a female rising sharply with frustration. It starts measured, then accelerates rapidly during emotional outburst, begins conversational, escalates quickly to loud and forceful. And then down here we emphasize this even further, so it should shift abruptly from neutral acceptance to intense resentment and anger. Let's hear what this sounds like.
Okay, yeah. I resent you, I love you, I respect you. But you know what? You blew it, and thanks to you.
Very nice. Here's another cool thing you can do. Qwen3 TTS allows you to input a custom voice. So let's say we are using this voice, Ryan, but then we can also add in instructions on how he should sound like. So here is the transcript. We can get it to sound like a very sad and tearful voice.
She said she would be here by noon.
Or instead, here's what it sounds like if he is very happy.
She said she would be here by noon.
And then here is a super furious and angry tone.
She said she would be here by noon.
It's really good at following these different expressions that you specify. Now here they say that Qwen3 TTS has released 9 different pre-built voices. So we have these 3 that can do Chinese, and then these 2 that can do English, 1 can do Japanese, 1 can do Korean, and then these 2 can do different Chinese dialects. Pretty cool. Let me just play you a few of these voices.
其实我真的有发现，我是一个特别善于观察别人情绪的人。
Then, by the end of the movie, when Dorothy clicks her heels and says, "There's no place like home," I got a little bit teary. I'll admit. You know, I don't even know why. I just felt.
やばい。明日のプレゼン資料まだ完成してない。It's okay. 야, 오늘 점심에 뭐 먹을지 생각해봤어? 근처에 새로 생긴 분식집 어때?
Now here's the really awesome thing. In addition to specifying a voice with a text prompt or using one of their pre-built voices, you can also easily just clone anyone with a few seconds of their voice. I'll show you more of my personal examples in a second, but here are some of their examples. So, for example, here is just an 8-second clip of someone's voice. Let me play you the original audio first.
I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit.
And then afterwards, let's get this voice to speak out this sentence.
An ideal, harmonious society, humanism, is a lighthouse on this way to guide us in case we are getting lost.
As you can hear, it sounds exactly like that person. It's really good. Here, you can even enter a voice and get it to speak out a different language. So for example, here's the input reference voice.
In short, we embarked on a mission to make America great again for all Americans.
And then let's get Trump to speak out Japanese.
要約すれば、全米国民のためにアメリカを再興するという使命を我々は開始したのである。
It's really good at cloning someone's voice from just a few seconds. This is definitely state of the art. It can even do really tricky transcripts, so let's see if it can read out this equation. First of all, let me play you the original voice.
Okay, yeah. I resent you. I love you. I respect you. But you know what? You blew it. And thanks to you.
And let's get her to read this out. I mean, if I saw this transcript, I don't even know how to read this out.
I am solving the equation. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a? Nobody can. It's a disaster. Very sad.
Okay, so I guess that's how you read out this equation. Here's a really cool thing. In your prompt, you can specify two voices. So for example, Lucas would be a male, and then Mia would be a female with these attributes. And then in your transcript, you can get both of them to talk together like a podcast, like this. So let me play you the first few seconds of this transcript.
Hey, you dropped your calculus notebook? I mean, I think it's yours, maybe?
Oh wow, my mortal enemy Mr. Thompson's problem sets. Thanks for rescuing me from that F.
No problem. I actually kind of finished those already. If you want to compare answers or something.
Is this your sneaky way of saying you want to study together, Lucas?
Anyways, super powerful and flexible tool. Now, those are just some of their official demos. Next, let me also show you some of my personal demos. Note that I'm running all of these offline on just my laptop. It's super fast. It can generate audio in just seconds. Don't worry, in the latter half of this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to set this up on your computer. But first, let me show you some of my demos on cloning someone's voice. First, let me test how good it is at cloning accents. So here we have an Aussie male voice. Let me play you the reference audio first.
G'day cobbers, my voice is a fair dinkum Aussie voice. Great for a ripper yarn about life down under. You'll be a true blue Aussie in no time, mate.
Alright, afterwards let me paste in this transcript and let's see what it generates.
There's nothing more Australian than a fair dinkum surf session at Bondi with board shorts and zinc on your nose.
And as you can see, it handled this really well. It's even able to pronounce some fairly tricky words like fair dinkum and Bondi. Now, instead of an Aussie accent, let's also try an Indian accent. So I'm going to upload this Indian female voice. Let me play this for you first.
Elevate your narrative with an Indian female voice that ignites curiosity and transforms every line into a captivating story.
Alright, and then for the transcript, let's paste this in and then press run. And here's what I got.
As the sun rises over the bustling streets of Mumbai, I often find myself reminiscing about the vibrant festivals of my childhood.
As you can hear, it's just so damn good at cloning someone's voice with just a few seconds. Here's another example. I'm going to upload this chipmunk voice. Let's hear what this sounds like first.
The combinations of different textures and flavors create a perfect harmony. The succulence of the steak, the tartness of the cranberries, the crunch of pine nuts, and creaminess of blue cheese.
Alright, and then for the transcript, let's paste this in and then press run. And here's what I got.
It's like my mind is racing at 1,000 miles per hour, buzzing with anticipation and the thrill of what's about to happen next.
It sounds exactly like my reference voice. By the way, this is super quick on just my laptop GPU. It can generate this in like 10 seconds. Or here's another example with Trump. So let me play you the reference audio first.
Now I have to also see, because it takes two people to tango, and I say it all the time.
And here's the transcript. Let's press run. Alright, here's what we get.
Look, folks, nobody knows success better than me. We're doing things nobody thought possible. Tremendous things.
And it sounds exactly like Trump. It even clones the background noise from this original reference audio. Again, super impressive considering that I only give it like 5 seconds of his voice. Next, let's try different languages. So I'm going to upload this Japanese voice. Let me play this for you first.
新しい体験があなたを待っています。これから始まる AI との会話をどうぞお楽しみください。まるで友人と話しているかのように感じていただければ幸いです。
And then let me paste in this transcript. So it's got English, Chinese, and Korean, plus the original reference voice is Japanese. Let's also set the language to auto first, and then press run. And here's what I got.
Welcome back, friends. 今天我们要学习一些 Korean expressions, but I'll be guiding you in English, so it's comfortable. For example, if you want to say thank you, 在中文我们说谢谢. 그리고 한국어로는 감사합니다라고 말해요.
You know, pretty good. It's actually able to pronounce all these languages, plus it kind of has a Japanese accent to it. Now, in addition to Japanese, here's another example. Let me upload a Spanish voice. Let me play this for you first.
A veces solo necesitas una voz clara y directa que transmita la información de manera sencilla y efectiva, sin rodeos ni complicaciones.
And then finally, let me paste in this transcript with Spanish, French, Hindi, and German, and let's see if it can figure this out.
El gato condujo el coche. Les nuages ontuname. Badoloki atma hotihe. Dikatse furdas auto.
It does sound like it can handle all these different languages. If you speak one of these languages, let me know in the comments below if it actually spoke these correctly. At least, to me, the Spanish sounded really good, but I'm not sure about the rest. Alright, that sums up some of my voice cloning examples, but Qwen3 TTS can do way more than just that. So next, let's move on to the next feature. This time, I'm going to use their custom voices and then set the emotion or expression. So for example, I'm going to enter this transcript. I can't believe you do this to me, you absolute traitor. And then first, it's going to be a very sad and crying tone. Here's what I get.
I can't believe you do this to me. You absolute traitor.
Indeed, he sounds very sad. Now, instead of sad and crying, let's do he is angry and furious, screaming.
I can't believe you do this to me, you absolute traitor.
And as you can hear, it's really good at handling these different expressions that I specify. Next, let me try flirty and playful.
I can't believe you do this to me, you absolute traitor.
So there you go. Here's how you can easily control the expressions or emotions that you want the voice to speak out. On my channel, I featured so many different AI models and tools, it can be very overwhelming. What if you can use all of these models all in one platform? And that brings us to ChatLLM by Abacus AI, the sponsor of this video. ChatLLM is an all-in-one platform for you to use the best AI models out there. You can seamlessly switch between different models in your chats. Plus, you can also use all the top image generators out there, as well as the top video models out there, all in one integrated platform. And they're usually very quick to add a model to their site once it comes out. Plus, if you're coding something, they have a really useful artifacts feature so that you can preview your generation side by side. Plus, they have a deep agent feature which can do some really complex tasks all autonomously, like creating PowerPoints, websites, and research reports. It's gonna supercharge your productivity. Best of all, you can access all of these AI models and image and video generators and Deep Agent for only $10 a month. This is way cheaper than if you paid for each tool separately. Definitely check out ChatLLM that comes with Deep Agent in the description below. Now, in addition to cloning someone's voice or using some of their pre-built voices, I can also design my own voice completely from scratch just with a text prompt. So for example, here we have a very old man, raspy, weak voice, and then let's get him to read out this transcript, and here's what we get.
Back in my day, we didn't have much, but we knew how to make it last.
Or instead of an old man, next let's try a cute cartoon chipmunk voice. And here's what we get.
Back in my day, we didn't have much, but we knew how to make it last.
And it sounds beautiful. It follows my prompt exactly. Here's another example. Let's try a sassy, flirty female in her 20s, dynamic, expressive vocal range. And let's try this tricky example where we have the same words but with different pronunciations. Let's see if it can figure this out.
The wind was too strong to wind the kite. The record producer refused to record the band's new single.
And it did this really well. So those are some of my personal demos. It handled everything pretty much flawlessly. This is definitely one of the top, if not the best, text-to-speech generators that you can use offline. Here, note that they released two different variants. There's a 1.7 billion parameter variant, which is larger and better quality, and then there's a 0.6 billion parameter variant, which is smaller and runs a bit faster. Note that all these models support all these languages and probably more. Now, at least within the 1.7 billion parameter variant, there are 3 different models. The first one is called Voice Design. Again, this is where you can create a voice completely from scratch just with a text prompt. And then we also have this custom voice model, which allows you to use one of their pre-built voices. And then we also have this base model where you can clone someone and make them say anything just with a few seconds of their voice. In fact, here it says 3 seconds is all you need, which is pretty crazy. And just some really quick benchmark scores for your reference. On average, Qwen3 TTS is even better than the other leading models like Elevenlabs or Minimax, GPT-4o, or Gemini Pro. And it's especially good in these multilingual benchmarks. Next, let's go over how you can install this and run it for free and unlimited times on your computer. First of all, if we click into their Hugging Face repo, note that the 0.6 billion parameter model is like less than 2 gigabytes in size, so this can easily fit within like even the lowest consumer grade GPUs. And then the 1.7 billion parameter model, this is like again, less than 4 gigabytes in size, so you can easily run this with a GPU with only 4 gigabytes of VRAM. Each of these models are very lightweight. Now, they have released an official GitHub repo, which contains instructions on how to download and run this, but all of this is raw code, which is not intuitive. What we're going to use instead is a graphical interface called ComfyUI. This is the most popular platform for running open source image, video, and audio generators offline. If you're not familiar with ComfyUI, or if you don't have it yet, definitely see this installation tutorial first. Anyways, back to our video. This assumes you already have ComfyUI installed. And the awesome thing is there's already a ComfyUI workflow for Qwen3 TTS. So I'm going to link to this GitHub repo in the description below, and let's go through this step by step to install it. Now, the first step is we need to clone this repository. So I'm going to scroll up to the top of the page, and then in this green code button, I'm going to click on it and then copy this URL. And then next, what I'm going to do is click into ComfyUI and then custom nodes. And then at the top here, type in CMD. And then afterwards, I'm going to write git clone and then paste in this link. And this is going to proceed to clone all these custom nodes to my ComfyUI. Next, we can exit out of this, and over here, you can see that we have a new ComfyUI-Qwen-TTS folder. Now, after installing the custom nodes, there's one last step, which is we need to install the requirements which are listed in this file. So what we need to do is go back into our ComfyUI Windows Portable root folder, and then again at the top here, type in CMD to open this up in command prompt. Now, I'm going to put this line in the description or pinned comment so you can just paste it, but basically, we are going to use Python, which is in our Python embedded folder, and then we are going to pip install everything that is listed in this requirements.txt file, which is located in our custom nodes and then Qwen-TTS folder, as you can see over here. So that's basically what this line does. Let's press enter, and it should proceed to install all these packages and dependencies if you don't have them already. All right, afterwards, we are done with this installation, and that's pretty much it. Now, the next step before we start up ComfyUI is it's best to update to the latest version first. So I'm going to double click into my update folder, and then you can either double click on this one to update to the very latest version, or just to be safe, you can also double click on this one to update to the latest stable version. For me, I'm going to double click on this one. So it's going to proceed to update to the latest version. All right, afterwards, the update has finished, so I can press any key to continue to exit out of that window. And then finally, we can now start running ComfyUI. So let me start this up. Now, after starting up ComfyUI, what we need to do is head over to templates. And then if we scroll all the way down, you should see this new ComfyUI-Qwen-TTS, which was just downloaded. So let's click on this, and here it contains an example workflow. So let's click on this, and here is what we get. Super simple. Now let's go over this really quickly. There are 3 different modules which you can play around with. For this first one, here's where you would enter a reference voice and it would clone their voice. You can basically get them to speak out whatever you want. And then over here for this custom voice node, here is where you can select from the pre-built voices that I mentioned earlier. So if you remember, each of these are trained for a certain language. So if you want to do English, for example, you'll have to choose Aiden or Ryan. And then over here is where you create a new voice. You can enter a prompt describing exactly what you want the voice to sound like. Let's go over each of these. So for me, I'm going to try out this voice clone one first. So what I'm going to do is hold down Control and drag over these 2 nodes, and then press Control B to bypass or disable them. And then here is where I can upload a few seconds of someone's voice. For example, let's upload Sam Altman's voice. Let me play this for you first.
That's definitely a change to my worldview. I think kind of like the history of scientific discovery is that humans are less and less at the center.
Next, for this first input, here's what this does. If you turn this X vector only to false, you'll actually need to enter the transcript of what this original audio clip is saying. For example, if my audio is like this,
that's definitely a change to my world.
Then you'll need to write that's definitely a change, etc., etc. You'll need to write the full transcript of this reference audio. And if you do that, it's going to be better quality. But I'm a lazy bum, so what I'm going to do is just leave this blank. And if we do so, we also need to set this X vector only to true like this. All right, so this is super important. Make sure you set this to true if you don't input the transcript of your reference audio. And then here is where you would input what you want this voice to speak out. So for example, let's get him to read out this transcript. Here is where I can choose from the 0.6 billion parameter model or the 1.7 billion parameter model. The 1.7 one runs a bit slower, but is a bit better in quality. And then for device and precision, I tend to just set this to the default. For language, you can just set it to auto or explicitly set it to something. And then the seed is basically the starting point of the generation. In a nutshell, if you have the exact same settings as before and you set the same seed as before, in other words, if you set this value to fixed, then you're going to get the exact same generation as before. So if you want to generate a slightly different variation while keeping the same transcript and the same settings, well, you would set this seed value to randomized, so you'll get a random seed and therefore a slightly different generation. And that's pretty much it. Let's press run and hear what we get. Now, when you run this for the first time, it's going to automatically detect any missing models and then download the models from Hugging Face or ModelScope. So everything is automatic. You don't need to manually download the models yourself. It says the total size of everything is 6 gigabytes, so it's going to take a few minutes for this to download. Now, that was really quick. So if I open this up, this took only like 16 seconds. And here's my generation.
We're excited to announce that OpenAI has exceeded $1 trillion in annual revenue.
Also note that down here, this is a save audio node, so your output would be automatically saved in this audio folder in your ComfyUI's output folder, as you can see here. All right, so that covers how to clone someone's voice with just a few seconds of their voice. So next, let me drag over this and then press Ctrl B to disable it. And then we are going to move on to this custom voice node. So let me drag over this and press Ctrl B again to re-enable it. So in this node, we can choose from several pre-built voices from the Qwen team. You can refer back to here for some examples, but basically if you want them to speak English, then we only have Aiden and Ryan. So let's choose Aiden, and then here's where we would choose the model. Yes, let's keep it at 1.7b. And then for the language, this time let's choose English, and that's pretty much it. So over here is where we enter the transcript. So let's try this transcript. And then down here, let me just get rid of this. Here is where we can instruct it on how exactly we want him to speak this out. So let's try a very sad and crying tone. Let's press run. All right, so this was also super quick. This only took like 18 seconds. And let's hear what this sounds like.
I can't believe you'd do this to me. You absolute traitor.
Perfect. So indeed, he sounds super sad. That's how you can operate this custom voice node. Let me drag across these and press Ctrl B to bypass this. And then finally, let's move on to this final voice design node. So again, I'm going to drag over these and press Ctrl B to re-enable them. And let me delete this Chinese so you can see the placeholder. Here is basically where you would enter the transcript. And here is where you would enter a description of the voice that you want to use. So for example, let's try a very old man with a raspy, weak voice. Note that I can probably prompt it a bit better by following the exact template that they showcased on their product page, but let's just keep this short and simple. And then for the transcript, I'm going to write something like this. And then again, here is where I can choose the model plus the language, which in my case, let's set this to English. And that's pretty much it. Let's press run. All right, and here's our results. This took 19.3 seconds. Let's play this.
Back in my day, we didn't have much, but we knew how to make it last.
And it sounds beautiful. This is indeed a very old man with a raspy, weak voice. Now, one thing to note is that let me unbypass this. The generations from both these two modules, the custom voice one and the design voice one, is not automatically saved. So you can see that the nodes here are just preview audio. This is different from the save audio node from this first module. So none of your generations here are actually saved. If you want to save it, put your cursor over this audio player and then right click and then click on Save Audio As. Otherwise, if you do another generation, it's going to overwrite this and you'll lose this forever. So that sums up my review and installation tutorial of Qwen3. This is a super powerful and flexible model that allows you to do a ton of stuff. You can easily clone someone's voice with just a few seconds of their recording, or you can use one of their pre-built voices and even specify different emotions, or you can even just design a completely new voice from scratch just with a text prompt. And the generations are super expressive. They understand the context. I mean, this is definitely one of the best text-to-speech generators out there right now. And the awesome thing is this is free and open source. Let me know what you think of this, and if you have any trouble installing this, welcome to paste the error message in the comments below and I'll try to help you troubleshoot as much as possible. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.